Welcome to Sketchbook Club. A very exciting week this week because it's all about bugs, beautiful bugs. So there's 4 downloadables. There's some beautiful beetles, they're just fabulous, and some crazy looking moths and bees and wasps and some beautiful butterflies. And what we're going to do, we're going to create a spread of bugs using tissue paper as the background colour. So no paint or pencils for the colour of these insects, just tissue paper. So you will need, obviously, a pack of tissue paper, some glue, scissors, obviously, and a pencil and a fine liner. Any fine liner will do. I use a sort of 0.4 and it just goes beautifully onto the surface of the tissue. It's a really lovely technique and hopefully end up with a really vibrant page as well with all these lovely colours of these beetles and butterflies and bugs. So what we're going to do, we're going to draw onto the chosen image. So first of all, have a look through, choose something that you'd like to do. So I'm going to choose this butterfly. And then what we're going to do, we're going to draw over the image. You can, of course, just use these sheets as reference. So I've got an example here of somebody who has done just that. She's enlarged the images and used them as reference and hasn't used this transfer technique, which is absolutely fine as well. Feel free to do this. Completely depends on how confident you are, but there is something quite sort of frightening about that white sketchbook page, and this sort of takes away really from that fear and also guarantees you'll end up with something that's pretty perfect. So we're going to choose one. As I said, I've chosen this little blue butterfly here, and we're going to draw around it. It's like tracing. We're just going to make sure every detail is drawn over with quite a sharp pencil, and you're pressing quite firmly so that when you do transfer it onto your sketchbook page, the line is clearly shown when you rub over the back. So we're going over the whole outline and every little detail. All the little veins of the wings, all the symmetry will be transferred onto the page. Very difficult, really hard to draw butterflies because of the symmetry, because obviously they're mirrored, and so trying to draw and replicate that is really hard. So this way you'll be sure to end up with something that looks just like the butterfly and that you'll be really happy with. I finished drawing over, so then I'm going to turn that over and onto your sketchbook page, position it. Here's where you should have a little think about the composition. So going back to this example, she has positioned her butterflies quite evenly around the page. So this is the point where you think about where you want the bugs that you're going to do. So have a little look back at the reference and choose a few and just sort of visually, where would you put them, and kind of design it in your mind's eye, if you like. So I'm going to put my butterfly here in this corner. So what you're going to do is you're going to rub with your pencil over that butterfly. Careful not to move the paper, because obviously you want the lines to be in the same place and not too wobbly. And this will transfer the butterfly onto the sketchbook page. So you're just rubbing over the whole butterfly. You won't be able to miss any out, because of course you can see through it, and also you'll end up with a very obvious butterfly shape at the end. Keep turning the pencil over, and if it goes a bit blunt, I'm cheating, I'm swapping, but just sharpen it. But you don't want it to be too sharp because it might rip the paper. You really want that sort of edge of the pencil. And keep it so it doesn't wobble around. So when you've rubbed over the whole butterfly, and there you've got the perfect butterfly shape on your sketchbook, ready for the tissue. So the next thing is to choose a colour. So I'm going to choose a pale blue. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I've cut a square so that I know it kind of covers the insect that I'm drawing. Then I'm going to draw around the outline of the butterfly very lightly with my pencil. You don't need to draw all the sort of detail because that's going to be with the fine liner afterwards. You really only need the wings of the butterfly, so you're going to cut out 2 separate components. So then you're going to cut them out, which is quite fiddly. Now tissue is incredibly delicate, obviously, so if you just hold it very, very sort of carefully between the pad of your thumb and forefinger, it won't rip. It'll be fine, but you just have to be a bit careful because it's so delicate. And what's so nice is the tissue is a really lovely surface for your black pen. It's sort of, I think it's because it's got a slight sheen to it, and also because it's ink, it doesn't break the tissue. I think if you were going to try and draw over the tissue in a pencil, it would tear the tissue, and if you were going to paint over the top, then obviously the tissue would become all wrinkly because it doesn't really like getting wet. So I'm just going to do this one wing here, and then if you lay them on top of your butterfly, you'll see they fit perfectly, and you can see the lines underneath. So what you're going to do, you take some glue and stick down the wings. So this is the bit you have to be really careful with, and I just sort of tap the tissue with my finger, because if you start to sort of pull it, it'll rip. And you can kind of tap with alternate fingers so you don't get gluey fingers. And when it's completely covered in glue and it's all sticky, you then stick it down onto the butterfly wing like that, and then you've got lovely smooth finish which is ready for your fine liner. So taking your fine liner, you'll see through the tissue all the detail that you've transferred onto the page, and you're just going to go over it with your pen. So you'll go over all the little veins and the whole shape of the whole wing, and adding all that detail, and already it's starting to look really beautiful. And I'm just going to go over the lines that I can see through, which would be really hard to do without this method. It depends how confident you are, but there's nothing wrong with taking a few shortcuts and ending up with something that you're really pleased with. Now you can be as detailed as you like. So looking at this spread here, she's put a lot of detail in, and she has obviously had the reference sort of in front of her. So it's quite a good idea to, whilst you're adding that sort of pen detail, have a look at the reference again, kind of see what's there and what you want to kind of put onto your image and what you don't. There might be some things that you decide it's just getting a bit complicated, or it looks better, much simpler. So she's put all the little lines of the lower wings, which I didn't, and then she's simply drawn in the body with black pen, which is a really effective way of making something quite graphic and simple. And tissue also is very delicate, so some of these colours have a kind of beautiful, delicate finish. So when you're thinking about the rest of your bugs, think about contrasting colours. I like the way she's put a ladybird and a bee next to the blue, so she's got this lovely palette of colours forming. And within the tissues there are some great colours and really vibrant colours. That's a brilliant lime green beetle. You could really go for it. But you can see that the base colours are all tissue, so there's no paint on the backgrounds at all, and they're so vibrant. Some other ideas: this is a beautiful spread. Using a white pencil, you could add a little bit of highlights, and it gives it that little slightly shiny beetle feel to it. Another lovely thing you can do with this fine liner is the legs almost look kind of hairy. You know how insects have that slightly kind of creepy crawly aspect, and that's just little dots with a fine liner pen, and it just gives it that kind of texture, really. And the same way with a bee, instead of just doing kind of a big block of colour, try doing sort of lots of little lines, and again it kind of has that slightly furry feel, as bees do, and it's really effective. This one's particularly beautiful, and in fact this bee here, I have lots of old bits of books, because I love to use bits of cut-up books for collage, etc. And she's managed to find the word Mr. Bumblebee, amazingly, in one of those old books, and that's made a lovely image. But again, just tissue on the background, and it just gives it that really lovely bright colour. So some more examples here. this fantastic, I think it's a hornet, is it? Or a huge wasp, it's quite terrifying. So this is lovely. And what she's done here is, instead of sticking that white tissue down, she just stuck the base down, so it kind of flutters. It just looks like it could sort of fly away. That's really effective. On this one, there's a lovely finish here, and instead of black, she's gone very gently with some blue pencil over the wings and created a sort of iridescent feel. It's quite nice how it overlaps the ladybird as well. And she's even used green tissue circles for the eyes. And you can see here, she's added that sort of sheen simply with a white pencil, just gives it that really nice shiny beetle finish. And this butterfly, instead of the black pen for all the little veins, she's used an orange pencil. It gives it a kind of gentler effect. But there's still something very beautiful and graphic when you do just use the black liner. It's a very successful method for hopefully creating a really sort of vibrant page with all the colours of the tissue. Hopefully you'll have fun with these bugs. If you want to share them, use the hashtag Sketchbook Club bugs, and then we can all see what we're all doing at the same time. And it's always lovely to see how other people are approaching it. So I look forward to seeing your work, and have fun with the bugs.